Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunatmane Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam. We are studying the great epic, the Ramayana. Some important episodes in this great epic we are studying. In the last class, we came to this point where Rama told Lakshmana, "See, I have determined to go to the forest. Now, my dear brother, what enthusiasm you have shown to collect all these ingredients for my coronation. Now, show the same enthusiasm to make arrangements for my exile to the forest. I have made up my mind. Saumitre abhishekarte sambhara sambramaha abhisheka nivrutyarte so astu sambhara sambramaha. Abhisheka nivrutyarte. No, not for coronation, for my exile. Arrangements, please make." And then Rama is saying here, even in this situation where actually he should feel dejected, he was feeling for Mother Kaikeyi and his father Dasharatha. He says, "Tasya shankamayam dukkham muhurtamapi no sahe manasi prati sanjatam saumitre aham upekshitum." Tasya manasi sanjatam. The grief that has arisen in the mind of Mother Kaikeyi, I can't bear that even for a muhurta, for a small period of time. Saumitre aham upekshitum muhurtamapi na ussahe. A great grief has arisen in the mind of a Mother Kaikeyi, and she has fear now. She has grief. What is that grief? Will my son be coronated? Will Bharata become the king of Ayodhya or not? And so she will be able to overcome that grief only if I leave to the forest quickly. So I have to go to the forest as early as possible. So then also, Rama is feeling for Dasharatha also. My father also has the fear and the grief, whether his vow would get fulfilled or not. Though directly he has not asked Rama to go to the forest, because he had granted that boon to Mother Kaikeyi, and Mother Kaikeyi had asked Rama to go to the forest. Your father wanted to tell that, but is not able to tell. So this is what he wants to say you. So it's as good as Dasharatha has ordered and commanded Rama to go to the forest. So he has a fear that whether his vow would get fulfilled or not. So I want to dispel that fear of my father. Tasya tapaha tapechamam. His tapa, his grief, tapechamam, makes me also feel sad. So that also makes me feel sad in the sense that I want to assuage his grief. How that can be done? If I leave to the forest quickly, he also will be comforted. This is Rama's argument. Assuredly, if I leave to the forest quickly, Mother Kaikeyi will be able to coronate my brother Bharata as the king of Ayodhya. So all mothers are equal to me, and also Mother Kaikeyi never made any distinction between me and Bharata. I also in my entire life never done anything to hurt the feelings of either my mother or father. Here he was referring to Kaikeyi. All these years I have conducted myself in such a way that I never ever even once I hurt my father or my mother. So I am very clear of this. And so now you try to resign to the will of the divine. Don't be angry, O Lakshmana. So surrender to the will of the divine. You see, all these days you have seen Mother Kaikeyi. She never spoke harsh words to me, but suddenly she has got changed. You just see what kind of words she had spoken to me now. How could that happen without the will of the divine? Is he the same mother? Do you see the same mother in her? No, right? What she was before, what she is now, so much of change suddenly, so much of transformation. How she used to love Bharata, same love she used to give to me also. She never made any distinction between her own son and me. And that is the case. Why this kind of behavior from her today? So it is because of the divine will. So surrender to that. You have to. There is no other option. And here Rama is telling beautifully, Katam prakruti sampanna rajaputri tata guna bruyat sa prakruteva stri mat pidam varta sannidhau. Katam prakruti sampanna. Is that actually a bad-tempered woman? No. She is a good woman. Rajaputri tatha guna. And also born in a royal family. Not that she was a low-born. Tatha guna. All the good qualities she has. Bruyat sa prakruteva stri. Like a wicked woman or uncultured woman. Prakruteva stri is she. Is she uncultured woman? No. How could she say these words to me today, matpida, with the intention of hurting me or giving me some suffering, Bharta Sannidhau, in the presence of her husband, Dasratha. She never spoke such harsh words to me. Not that she actually is a bad woman, not that she is a bad-tempered woman, not that she was a low-born, Rajaputri Tatha Guna, full of virtues and good qualities of Mother Kaikeyi has. Suddenly she has got transformed. And she speaks like that. How that would happen without the commission of the Lord? So resign to the will of the fate of the divine. So don't be angry, Lakshmana. Let me go to the forest, make arrangements for that. Rama is telling. Kascha daivena saumitre yodumussahate puman yasya nagrahanam kinchit karmano anyatra drushyate. Kasya daivena saumitre yodhumussahate puman. How can you oppose divine will, fate, destiny, luck, providence? All are synonyms. We may be using these different words, but all have the same meaning. Fate, destiny, luck, divine will, providence. There is only one will, the will of the Lord. Every creature in this world is a helpless instrument. And we all have to dance to the tune of that will. There is no other option. Kascha daivena saumitre. How can you resist the will of providence, the will of the Lord, the will of the Supreme? Yodhu mussahate puman. Which mortal, which human being can resist the will of the Lord? Surrender to the will of the Lord and be happy. Don't think something untoward, something calamitous, something dangerous, something painful has happened. Everything will happen only by the will of the Lord, by the will of the Creator. And surrender to His will and be happy and be peaceful. That's what Rama is telling. Rushayo pyugra tapaso daivena bhiprapidita usrujya niyamam sthivran brashyante kamamanyubihi. Rushayopi ugra tapasa. Even sages who practice hard austerities, daivena abhiprapidita, impelled by the Lord, impelled by the providence, usrujya niyamam sthivran. All the hard austerities, all the strict vows that they take, they give up those vows. And what happens? Brashyante kamamanyubihi. We will be caught by these 6 enemies: lust, greed, anger, jealousy, envy. Arishad Vargas we call 6 enemies. Even the sages, Rashayopi Ugra Tapaso, who practice hard austerities, they also are helpless instruments of the Lord. Lord is all powerful. Daivena abhiprapridita, impelled by the Lord, impelled by providence. And that is the case, what to speak of ordinary people. They have to helplessly dance to the tune of that divine will. So don't protest, don't fret, don't fume, oh my dear brother. Allow me to go to the forest. Nobody is responsible. Don't make our father Dasratha an enemy. Don't make our mother Kaikeyi an enemy. They are helpless instruments of the divine. They are more helpless than you and me. So in this situation is also Rama actually is feeling for his parents, particularly for his father Dasratha and mother Kaikeyi. So but Lakshmana doesn't want to buy Rama's argument, he says. He doesn't think like Rama. He says, no, your interpretation of dharma is not correct. Why Lakshmana is saying? See, you say that everything happens by the will of the providence, but he became very angry, Lakshmana. Kruddasya simhasya mukasya sadrusha mukam. Kruddasya simhasya. He became like an infuriated lion. His face became like an infuriated lion. Because he doesn't want to subscribe to Rama's argument. He says, Kim nama krupanam daivam ashaktam abhishamsasi. Krupanam daivam ashaktam abhishamsasi. Why do you glorify divine will so much? Why do you glorify fate so much? Fate is everything. No, Swamiji also said, you are the creator of your own destiny. You must create your own destiny. Many times these moral dilemmas will come to us in our lives. How much is in our hands? How much happens by the will of the divine. So here the thing is, most of the times we think actually surrender is easy, but not easy. Why we engage in action? Because we are helplessly have to engage in action. And no option here. Complete surrender to the divine is not such an easy thing. It requires great strength, great detachment and great renunciation. Only men of exceptional strength can surrender absolutely, unconditionally. Rest of us, we think we have the surrender, we have achieved the surrender. No, it is only partial surrender. According to our convenience, we surrender. When it is convenient, we say it is divine will. When it is not convenient, everything actually we want to do, we want to engage in action. Okay. So here he is clearly saying that. So everything why you put it on the divine. Kim nama krupanam ashaktam daivam ashaktam abhishamsati. Why do you praise divine will as so absolute? As if ultimate. So he said that actually, you have fear, brother, you have fear that people might say that as you have not obeyed your father's command, so you have not shown the path of dharma to us. People might indict you. Maybe you have that fear. Or maybe you have the fear that you are showing some dereliction to duty. Maybe these fears are assuaging you. Maybe these fears are actually agitating you, Rama. Lakshmana is saying to his brother Rama, the Lord himself. Probably some fear is there. That's why you want to go to the forest quickly. Not that you are practicing dharma. I don't think this is dharma. You are Jyeshtaputra. You are the eldest son. You have the right for the throne. If they don't want to give it, you take it by force. That is the right. You have to take it right. That is dharma according to Lakshmana. Why don't you suspect the two, or mother and father, Dasratha and Kaikeyi, he says. They are conspiring against you. Otherwise, why should she seek these boons now? Dasratha had given the boons long back, right? He had promised Mother Kaikeyi these boons long back, long ago. She could have sought these boons sometime back. Why did she choose this time to seek these boons? Just before your coronation. There is a conspiracy there, right? They don't want you to get coronated. They don't want you to take the kingdom. There is an evil intention there. There is a conspiracy there. They are plotting against you, brother. Can't you see that? Can't you see that plot? Why did she seek that boon now? The boons that had been given to her long, long back. So this is Lakshmana's argument. Why should you not doubt them? Right? I can't brook the installation of anybody else as the king of this country in place of you, Rama. Be pleased to forgive my intolerance, in this situation. Maybe in this matter I am wrong. I may be intolerant. But please forgive my intolerance. No, Lakshmana is very much attached to Rama. Rama's welfare is his welfare. As brotherly love, if you just want to see, you have to see these two. Lakshmana has only one thing. His life is not that important. Only service to Rama. This is one goal in life. He's like shadow of Rama. So Rama understands his feelings. Rama understands his emotions. My brother actually, though he is trying to interpret dharma for me, there is a love behind that. There is affection behind that. He feels that injustice is being meted out to Rama. My just brother, actually injustice is being meted out to him. People are conspiring against him. I have to defend his right. He is so good. He is such a good soul individual, but he doesn't know even his own interest. People are actually depriving him what is actually the right. So he doesn't want to even protect his own interest. So it's my responsibility to protect his interest. That's how I want to serve my brother Rama. So with a good intention, he is telling that. Yesterday, you accepted when our father asked you to be coronated. You said yes. Now today, the same father asks you to go to the forest. Again, you say yes. Right? Can dharma change so fast? Yesterday, when he asked you to be coronated, you said yes. But again, he is asking, he has just reversed his decision and is asking you to go to the forest. Can dharma be so fickle? Can dharma change so fast? Enaiva magata dvaidam tava buddhihi mahamate. This is a dichotomy, right? Contrast. How can a person who has ordered you to sit on the throne, the same person can change, reverse his decision all of a sudden and ask you to go to the forest? What kind of dharma it is? Can dharma change so fast? Enaiva magata dvaidam. Okay. Tava buddhihi mahamate. This is a dichotomy. Don't you see, brother? That's why Lakshmana is arguing. Because his concern, deep concern for Rama. So why should we listen to this decision of command of our father? Because this is unrighteous in the first place. He is ordering you to go to the forest. And he is also reproachful. And he is also under the thumb of Mother Kaikeyi. Now he is not a free individual. It is not his decision. Not that he has deliberated carefully, he reflected carefully, and actually has given this instruction. So he is totally under the control of Mother Kaikeyi. So actually she wants to harm you. This is unrighteous action on his part. Why should you just take it as it is, without protesting, without resisting? This is purely infatuation. A man who is not moral himself, what right he has to order you to go to the forest? He himself actually is morally not upright. King must be morally upright, but that is not the case with our father now. Right? He is under the control of somebody else. How can such an individual order you to go to the forest? Even if he orders you, why should you take that command? Why should you obey it? Why don't you resist it, he is telling. Tavayam dharma samyogo lokasyasya vigarhitaha. This samyoga, this kind of interpretation of dharma, what you consider as righteous, lokasyasya vigarhitaha. Even people in the world also, they don't appreciate this kind of following of dharma. They also will deprecate it. They also will disapprove it. They also understand it as reproachful. This kind of interpretation of dharma, this kind of understanding of dharma, and they also won't appreciate. Lokasyasya vigarhitaha. It could be your misplaced compassion. That's what Lakshmana understands. They are all namesake parents actually. They are infatuation to each other. So you don't have to obey their command. You ought to ignore even if it is decree of fate. Only cowardly and powerless say that this is all by fate, this is all by providence, this is my luck. Only cowardly people will tell. And only powerless people will tell. Vikalpo viryahino yah sadaiva manuvartate. Vikalpo viryahino yaha. Those who are cowardly and viryahinaha, powerless, they only talk about power, they only talk about providence, they only talk about luck, they only talk about divine will. Not a man who has capacity, not the man who has power, not the man who has strength. Saeva dhaiva manuvartate. So he is telling, Lakshmana is telling that don't actually surrender to fate like that meekly, O Rama. No. This kind of meek surrender to the fate doesn't bewitch you. What you need to is you must assert your right. You must take the throne by force if necessary. People will see me undoing the will of the fate today. Lakshmana is roaring. I will undo the will of the fate. What you say, it is the will of the fate that you are obeying and you are going to the forest. I will undo the will of the fate. People will see that from me. This fate which is rushing like an elephant in rut, I will stop it with my courage, he said. It may be an elephant, it may be a big elephant in rut. It's coming, it's, the onrush of it is so powerful. Rama is telling that you are helpless and I am helpless. Mother Kaikeyi is helpless. Our father Dasharatha is helpless. Everybody is helpless before the providence, before the karma. This karma actually has come upon my head and upon the head of Mother Kaikeyi. She is actually reaping the fruit of her own karma. I am also reaping the fruit of my own karma, and our father also reaping the fruit of his own actions. They are irreversible. Law of karma is inexorable. So there is no option here except surrendering to the will of the divine. Karma actually, whatever actually, probably I might have done something in the past, and that fruit of that action I have to take now. There is no option here. And she is also helpless. She is reaping the fruit of her action. But Lakshmana is saying, not such thing. Karma, we determine. We do it and we undo it. What we do, we can undo it. So I will undo the will of the fate. None can stop it. Neither the deities of the guardian deities of the three quarters, nor angels sitting in the heaven. Nobody will be able to stop this. I will bring my parents' wish to naught. I will bring my parents' wish to nothing. So they want you to go to the forest and suffer. Dasharatha and Mother Kaikeyi, I am not going to allow them to punish you like that, to make you go to the forest. I will undo their will. You have to rule. You have to rule first, as long as you want, and after that your sons will rule. Okay, because you are the eldest. And after you, your sons will rule. The eldest of you will rule. Your son will rule. And that is actually a natural course of events. That is dharma. That is tradition. And now you want to go to Vanaprastha? Is this the time to go to Vanaprastha? You have not even been coronated. The time has not come for you as yet to be a Vanaprasthi. There is a lot of time for that. You have to rule first, and then you have to coronate your children. The eldest of your son will be the next king. After coronating the eldest of your son, then you will talk about this Vanaprastha and going to the forest. Only Vanaprastha ashrama means going to the forest. In those days, after 55, 60, after all the responsibilities of war in the world, people used to go to Vanaprastha. But the time has not come for you to become a Vanaprasthi. So this is Lakshmana is telling it. Dasharatha is not in his senses. He is out of his senses. His brains are not functioning well. He is actually not fit to rule. You don't have to obey him. My hands and weapons, Lakshmana is saying that they are not actually, they are mere ornaments. They are not there for ornamental purpose. My hands, Lakshmana is showing his hands, and my weapons. They are there for what? Na shobhartha vimau bahu na danuhu bhushanaya me. So my hands and also my dhanus, my bow is not meant as an ornament. These are meant to kill the enemies. Lakshmana is talking of a formal war. From whom actually is expecting war? Bharata will come, Mother Kaikeyi will order his son to come, and Bharata wants to be coronated, so he will try to occupy the throne. So he will offer resistance. There will be a fight between Rama and Bharata, and I will defend you, brother. And so other kings might support Bharata. So all of them I will extirpate, whoever might come in support of. And he is not telling all this, but actually he is thinking of a formal war. There will happen a formal war. That's what his guess is. But Rama knew that, what kind of man Bharata was, right? Absolutely, he is as detached as I am. Rama knew that. He will not covet for that. There is no scope for that war to happen at all. He knew the mind of Bharata. It is only the intention of Mother Kaikeyi that she also, encouraged and egged on by somebody else, Manthara. She had changed her mind, right? But that all will of fate, the will of the destiny. So you have to surrender, you have to accept that. So sometimes actually it will happen, but we want to resist the will of the fate. However hard you might try, you will not be able to resist. So I will sever the limbs of all those kings who actually come to defend, who come for fighting. And I will also kill all those elephants and the horses that they would use for the battle. And there will be only blood and blood all around. The earth will be thickly set with the trunks of these elephants, with the limbs of these elephants and the horses and the people. He is just talking about a formal war. A war is going to happen. A war is imminent. And I will fight on behalf of my brother. And I will bring victory for him. And I will see that he is coronated. And he will sit on the throne of the Ayodhya. So, you just tell me, now he is concluding this, you just tell me, whose life should I deprive of, right? Whose fame of invincibility, whose relations I should extirpate. You tell me your enemy, Lakshmana is telling. Rama has no enemy, of course. Absolutely, he has no enemy. He is not even thinking of that. Where is the scope? Where is the need for such a formal war? It's such a simple thing. I just want to obey the command of our father. I want to establish him in truthfulness. He must become a Satyavadi, that's all. I don't covet this post, I don't covet this kingdom, I have no desire for this throne. I have been telling that. But Lakshmana is telling that. Why should you go to the forest? This is injustice. Injustice is being beaten out to you. So they are conspiring against you. Why don't you suspect them, he's saying. Why should I suspect? They are just helpless instruments. As helpless as anybody else in the world. Everybody is helpless. Only one will, the will of the Supreme. Are we not helpless instruments of the Divine? Many times in our lives, we suffer only because of this. Things have not happened according to my will. What is your will? To Pune. Why should you have a will at all? When the Supreme is running the entire universe, why can't just, set your will in accordance with the will of the Divine? That's all we have to do. That's all bhakti, surrender is all about. Only one will, only by thy will, O Lord. Your will only will happen. Your will only will happen. Keep on surrendering like that. I am just an instrument in your hands. You just make me do what you want to do. Your will alone, thy will, thy will, thy will, thy will. Nimitta matra bhava savyasachin. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, be an instrument in my hands. Nimitta matra savyasachi. You don't have any freedom. Neither to win the war or not to lose the war. You have to do my bidding. My bidding alone is there in the world. So the Lord is asking, Nimitta matra bhava savyasachin. But it requires great strength, great courage, and great renunciation to surrender absolutely to the will of the Divine. Not to grumble. So sometimes we think actually I should surrender. Something happens. Oh, why Lord has given me this kind of situation? I have surrendered to Him, but such a painful situation. In surrender there cannot be any pain. Anything is okay. Rama has that surrender. Throne is also okay, forest is also okay. If he really is afraid of going to the forest, if he has thought so much about how forest life would be, and if he had compared forest life with the life in the palace and all these days, what kind of life he had led here, definitely there would have been fear in his mind. He would have resisted. No such thing. It is the Divine who ordained that I would be coronated, and again the Divine who ordains that I should go to the forest. Simple. This is a painful situation, that is a pleasurable situation. This I like, that I don't like. No such thing. This is what makes us suffer. Likes and dislikes. This I like, that I don't like. This I want, that I don't want. That means you are dividing the universe, dividing the creation of the Supreme Lord. This is something bad, that is good. Maybe something, there is a lesser manifestation, there is something greater manifestation. It is in the very human nature to get attracted to something which has a greater manifestation of the Divine. But all that we loathe, all that we abhor, also Divine, may be little lesser manifestation. But we do this mistake of differentiating the world, dividing the world into, polarity that they can. This is good, this is bad. There is no such thing here. Lesser good and greater good, that's all. Somebody is a great human being, a noble human being. Somebody may not be that noble, whom we call as wicked. But it's not an absolutely bad guy. There are no absolutely bad guys in this world. Maybe not all may not be Ramas, definitely not Ramas. All are not Ravanas also. We are in between. Some Ravana's qualities, some Rama qualities. Both we all have. We have to lessen the Ravana's qualities and we have to cultivate more of Rama's qualities. We all worship only Rama, right? Rama is our hero. So more you meditate on Rama, the more of Rama's character will manifest through you, and more perfect you become, more closer you come to the absolute. That's the only thing. There is nobody who is absolutely bad. Even Ravana was not absolutely bad. He had many good qualities. Ravana Brahma, they say, studied 4 Vedas, only one weakness, that's all. So then Rama now, he wiped the tears of Lakshmana. He understands his brother's emotions. They knew each other so well. All actually well-meaning words, right? He wants Rama to be happy. His suffering is because how my brother will fare in the forest. Why should he take that suffering? So now he has embraced him. He wiped his tears. And Rama has told his resolution, his resolve. Pitrurvachane vyavasthitam nibodha mamesha hi saumya satpataha Pitrurvachane vyavasthitam. Know me, O gentle brother, to be firmly obedient to the command of my parents. Nibodha mam eshahi somya satpataha. This is the path of the righteous. This is the right path for me. Absolutely no confusion as to what he should do. Rama had the strength, right? The Lord himself, the Supreme. If he wants his throne, he can have it for himself. Who would be able to resist him? But he was telling here, I am absolutely not attached to anything. Wealth and power, I don't care. Here, in this situation, it feels for Mother Kaikeyi and Dasharatha. Ahimsa, Paramodharmaha, highest degree of non-violence here, the Lord is trying to practice and wants to show to us. Only when you have the highest degree of detachment and renunciation, it becomes easy for us to practice complete non-violence. You may ask, actually, in the Mahabharata, Krishna actually goads Arjuna to fight the battle. But what happens is that there also violence is there. See, there, it is just forcing Duryodhana to abide by his promise. Duryodhana exiled the Pandavas for 13 years. He said, after you come back after 13 years, I will give the half of the kingdom. I'll give, right? The promise is going back on his promise there. Completely was following the path of adharma. Might is right, he was saying. And to whom he is saying? To his own brothers, cousins. They have that rightful share. That's completely different context. So you should not mix up things. Mahabharata is a different context. Here is a different context. Lakshmana is asking, we are Kshatriyas by, by she using authority, power, you should actually appropriate, take this throne for yourself, O Rama. But Rama doesn't agree to that argument of Lakshmana. He's telling. So that's a different context. Mahabharata context is different. Here this context is different. And now Mother Kausalya again is asking Rama, how my gentle body will be able to do in this forest, will be able to live on grains. Forest, what you will get? There are no crops will be there. You have to be on bulbs, roots and fruits. And people who serve him here, the servants, they also enjoy dainty dishes. When that is the case, how my gentle son, my graceful son will be able to thrive, will be able to live on grains. As mother, actually, she feels for her son, right? How he will fare there, what food he will be able to eat, what he will be able to, where he will be able to live, what he will wear, all these concerns, right? Mothers will have children. Now Mother Kausalya understood that. He is very firm in his determination and that he will go to the forest. Definitely. So, because she has almost exhausted all her defense, all her arguments, now you could see the firmness of his resolve, where she has brought him up, right? All mothers know what their sons are, what their daughters are. Nobody else will be able to know better than mothers. So what my son, what my daughter is, who else will be able to know better than mother? And so she understands him. But she is telling now, yes, destiny is powerful. Nobody can resist destiny. Nobody can resist the will of the divine. This is my fate. But this fire of grief, will consume me. This is a fire. I won't be able to withstand this fire. This will consume me totally, O Rama. These last words are last words. At least permit me now to follow you just as a calf, or just as a cow follows its calf. Though I am feeble, I am weak actually. I don't have the strength to follow you to the forest. Though I am feeble and weak to follow you to the forest, at least allow me to come with you to the forest. Now what Rama is saying, he is saying that, O mother, already your father is betrayed by Mother Kaikeyi, right? If I repair to the forest, he is deeply attached to me. I know how affectionate he is towards me, how much he loves me, how much he pains, how much of suffering he takes. If I leave him, Rama is estimating the grief of his father. When he leaves the forest and go to the forest, of course, absolutely is not thinking about himself. Forest life will be a terrible life, but absolutely is not concerned with that. What kind of grief Dasharatha, father, is likely to undergo? And now anyway, I am going. That will be terribly painful to him. And now you also want to come to the forest. Then who will serve him? Mother Kaikeyi is unlikely to serve. She has already betrayed him. So this is not dharma actually. So woman should not desert her husband. That's cruelty. So Rama is telling his mother Kausalya. Last time he told that actually. You are not a widow. Father is still alive. He is the king. How can you come with me, with the son? No. Your responsibility and dharma is only to serve your husband. As long as he is alive, and your responsibility is to serve him. You cannot come to the forest with me because of your affection for me, the attachment that you have for me. I know you love me, but that is not dharma. For a married woman, husband is her deity and the Lord. For a married woman, husband is her deity and the Lord. He is the God that you need to serve. He is the Lord that you need to serve. Jivantyahi striya bharta daivatam prabhurevacha. Jivantyahi striya bharta daivatam prabhurevacha. In those days, all this dharma they used to practice. Very clear about that. And here Rama beautifully says in Ramayana, that you don't have to practice any other austerities. You don't have to worship any other gods. Women is telling. They don't have to worship any other god. They don't have to do any ritual. They don't have to make any sacrifices. They are also okay, you can do. They will help you to acquire spiritual merit. But nothing like serving your own husband as God. That is the highest. Ramayana places it in the first place. If you are busy with that, serving your husband, and you are not able to observe any other propitiatory rites, any other spiritual practices, it's okay. Still you will get the merit. But you are doing all these sacrifices, all the vows you have taken, right? Different kinds of austerities you are practicing, but you are not serving your husband. You are totally neglecting your husband. These things will not actually give you any merit, they say. First and foremost, dharma of any woman here, according to Indian tradition, according to Sanatana Dharma, is to serve her husband. Deify the husband and consider him. Of course, the injunction is for men also, for husbands also. How to look at their better halves, how to look at their wives. You have to look upon every woman as the emblem of the Divine Mother, including your wife. She is just the Divine Mother only serving. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, one day actually, he asked actually, Holy Mother, I asked, how do you look upon me? And Sri Ramakrishna said that, my mother who is there, staying there now, and the mother actually who is there in the temple, and now you, I see all as the same Divine Mother, and same Divine Mother I see you in all. In her own wife actually, Sri Ramakrishna saw the Divine Mother. Divine Mother only serving me. Not that actually if you see Divine Mother you should not take service, not that. She is an emblem of the Divine. Divine Mother has put up, so many roles. So many roles she is doing actually, right? In a maid servant, in a woman of ill fame, also Sri Ramakrishna would see Divine Mother. In a scavenger woman also he saw Divine Mother. Who else would do that kind of work? Who else would be able to do? Normally we cannot do. We have likes and dislikes. We will get actually repulsed by, the atmosphere, such kind of atmosphere. When a scavenger woman also you could see and bow before her, who else would be able to do such kind of work if not Divine Mother? You could see only that all-merciful Divine Mother in every woman. There is nothing that only in pious women and only in well-born and people who are born in high caste, he could see Divine Mother, not at all. Every woman actually. He saw only an image of the Divine Mother, that Mother Kali whom she worshipped in the temple, and they are all the living emblems, they are the living embodiments of that Mother. So Rama is telling here actually, Mother, your responsibility is only towards Father. You can't desert him now. He is already grief-stricken. Terrible grief actually is gnawing at his heart. How he would feel my absence, what kind of pain it would give, Rama is estimating it. He needs you now more than he was before. And so you have to be by his side. No option. Drop this idea of coming with me to the forest. You cannot. That is not dharma for a woman. It's very clear. Or the great grief ultimately, Kausalya has agreed. She understood that her son will not, once he made up his mind, means this is all very difficult. And she says, Gamane sukrutam buddhim nate shaknomi putraka. I am helpless, my son. I don't have the strength, to stop you from going to the forest. Gamane sukrutam buddhi. You are determined to go to the forest. I understand that. Vinivartayitum veera nunam kalo duratyaha. I understand that nobody can help here. Kalo duratyaha. That means here Kala means here providence. Again, Kala also providence. Time we say, my times are not good. I mean bad times. Who actually put you in that bad times? Almighty. Providence. My bad times, good times. So, Kalo Duratyeha, nobody will be able to resist the will of the Almighty, right, in the form of fate or luck or times, anything you may say, karma. They're all one and the same. They're all synonyms. They're all one and the same synonyms. When you use the karma, when you see, we describe in our Sanatana Dharma, God is actually the eternal witness. He is a Purusha. He is beyond Prakriti. He doesn't do anything. He is just the Sakshi. Absolutely without any action. Kriya Hina. In that way. The Prakriti acts in His presence. God is not responsible for our suffering. So many times our Dharma says this. Swamiji also in many of his lectures he said this clearly. That we suffer only our karma. We, whatever the pleasures that we enjoy, whatever the joys that we get, also because of our karma. Whatever the suffering and misery that comes in our life, also because of our karma only. Nobody else to be blamed for in this world. Nobody else is responsible. Mahatma Gandhi says God actually has written this law of karma and is retired as it were. Okay? Good action, good fruit. Bad action, bad fruit. The Prakriti, the Maya, always tries to provoke us to indulge in violence. But we should be able to resist that. Nature always, natural instinct is selfish instinct. Always provokes us, definitely to, indulge in violence. But you should be able to resist the temptation. Weak only will become violent, not the people who have strength. Mahatma Gandhi also talking about his ahimsa element. Again and again he would say, this non-violence cannot be practiced by the weak. It requires exceptional strength. It can be only the weapon of the strong. It can never be the weapon of the weak. If you just look at all the wars and all the bloodshed that has happened in the world, all that has happened because of fear. Weak people only fight. They will only go for wars because of fear. Because of fear, you indulge in violence and then you violate this principle of all life is one. So then incur bad karma upon you. And then you will have to reap the fruit of that action and then you have to be reborn. That's how we are caught in the cycle of samsara. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, the cycle continues. To break this cycle, you have to be extremely non-violent. That ahimsa paramo dharma, you have to put it into practice as much as you can. And nature, Prakriti always actually tries to tempt us to go, to indulge in violence. But you resist it as much as that you can, as much as that lies in your power. How you will be able to do that? The easiest way to do it is to have renunciation, to have detachment. You will not divide the world. There is nothing you dislike and nothing you like. Everything is okay for you. Every situation is okay for you. You are comfortable. It's okay for you. And that is the case. You will not hurt anybody. You will at least be least violent. Without little violence, actually, we cannot live. When you walk, actually, we step on some ants and they die. So some violence actually is intrinsic to life. But the art of living consists in doing minimum violence and living with as minimum violence as possible. That's the only way to come out of this cycle of life and death, to attain the highest. Because all life is one. If you violate another life, definitely that's bad karma. That's what our scriptures say. And Rama had tried his best and embodied actually that principle of ahimsa paramo dharma in most trying circumstances. Anybody else would have become violent. Anybody else would have provoked into violence in this situation. But he didn't get. He didn't lose his tranquility. He didn't lose his composure. He didn't become violent. And he was feeling for the people who actually, in fact, who conspired against him or who actually wanted him to suffer. He was even feeling for their suffering. That's actually a great challenge, right? That's why he has become our hero. After so many millennia, we are remembering a personality or talking about a personality because of that exceptional strength that he had displayed. So when we understand these qualities, we will try to put something into practice in our lives. Definitely something, translates into action. But only thing is, you have to understand Rama clearly. And that is actually the best way to worship him. Practice of non-violence. In the Mahabharata, actually, there is a great war, right? But the central essence, the message of one simple message. What is the message, central essence of Mahabharata? Well, the gist of Mahabharata, if you ask, is there in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Krishna says, ahimsa paramo dharma, nothing else. Our rishis have discovered this. Mahatma Gandhi says, the rishis who have discovered this principle of non-violence in the midst of violence that is happening all across in the world, they are the greatest genius, he says. They are the greater warriors than actually Wellington, and greater geniuses than Newton. India has been practicing this to the best extent possible. That's why Vivekananda was so proud. When he had gone to the West, he would tell again and again, we have never crossed our borders, we have never annexed another country, we have never indulged in violence, we have never destroyed other races. The gentlest race, the mildest race, because we are gentle, that is strength. Gentleness is strength. Aggression is not strength. Brutality is not strength. Tyranny is not strength. Gentleness is strength. Sacrifice is strength. Non-violence is strength. We have been displaying that. And he says, if there is any land that practices truly tolerance, okay, religious tolerance, that is this land. So many times he tells this in lectures from Colombo to Almara. So we have been practicing it. If you compare races, if you just look at history, you understand. India actually has practiced this to the best extent possible. So let us stop here for today. We shall meditate for 2 minutes before we go to Arati. Oh.